Welcome to Rooted, planting seeds for a life that bears fruit. As we launch this study together, I want to introduce you to a better way. Essentially, that's what the book of Proverbs is. It is a better way. Solomon, the wisest of men, writes a book to his son, and in it, he pours out his heart to him. At every turn, Solomon, this sage, is saying, my son, don't go down that path. Choose this better one. Throughout this series, we're going to be challenging you to find, to plant, to water, and to bring forth the wisdom of God from your life. We're going to cultivate the soil. We're going to deposit the seed, and we're going to tend to the matters of growing in wisdom. You know, I'm convinced that if you give yourself to growing in wisdom, this will change your life for the better. You will experience a better way, a more fruit-filled path that not only saves you from great heartache and pain, but that also brings forth great satisfaction. So let's start with this week's memory verse. It's Proverbs 16, verse 16, and it says, how much better to get wisdom than gold? To get understanding is to be chosen rather than silver. From this starting line today, Solomon says getting wisdom is better. So that leads us to this question. How do we get wisdom? How do we lay hold of that which is better than gold? Join me in Proverbs chapter 2. Let's jump over to Proverbs chapter 2, and I'm going to ask you to grab a shovel with me because I think you're going to see just how vital it is that we use this tool to bearing this better fruit. Let's read Proverbs 2, 1 through 11. This is from the NIV 1984 translation. It's what I learned in my college years, and it's my favorite translation of this chapter. It says, my son, if you accept my words and store up my commands within you, turning your ear to wisdom and applying your heart to understanding, and if you call out for insight and cry aloud for understanding, and if you look for it as for silver and search for it as for hidden treasure, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. For the Lord gives wisdom, and from his mouth come knowledge and understanding. He holds victory in store for the upright. He's a shield to those whose walk is blameless, for he guards the course of the just and protects the way of his faithful ones. Then you will understand what is right and just and fair, every good path, for wisdom will enter your heart and knowledge will be pleasant to your soul. Discretion will protect you and understanding will guard you. You know, there are so many things in life that we want for those we love. At the same time, there are only so many things that we can give those we love. At some point, the individual has to decide to lay hold of something themselves. In this teaching, Solomon is saying to his son, hey, champ, this isn't something I can give you. I can only point you in that direction. But if you, then you. You see that? There are a bunch of if you, then you statements. Number one is in verse 1, if you accept my words. Verse 3, if you call out for insight. Verse 4, if you look for it. In our faith journey, the responsibility is placed on the hearer. And that responsibility is to walk in a faith that God does something, that God honors what he's established, that God's way is a better way. Jesus often said, he who has ears to hear, let him hear. So Solomon says to his son a few things. Number one, be a follower. If you will accept my words, he's saying be a follower. If you will be teachable. How many times do we roll our eyes at what our parents have to say? And the more you study the wisdom of God, the more you will see that this is the beginning point. Learning from those over you, ahead of you, and who God has given to you to help you grow and be mature. Solomon says be a follower. Number two, be a listener. Be a listener if you turn your ear. See, when we turn our ear, it's because we're intentionally working to listen, to grasp a message, to lay hold of what's being said. We're to be a student of wisdom. You may say, well, how can I become a student of wisdom? Well, that's a good question. I've found this simple formula to be successful in my own pursuit of wisdom. Here it is. You ready? A proverb a day will keep the fool away. A proverb a day keeps the fool away. Friend, there are 31 chapters in the book of Proverbs. So if today's the 16th, we read Proverbs 16. Tomorrow, the 17th, we read Proverbs 17. The next day, the 18th, we read Proverbs 18. A proverb a day keeps the fool away. And I promise you, what you learn on the 16th this month and what you learn on the 16th next month will be different. I've also sought to make this my practice ongoing since being in college. I don't hit it every single day, but I begin my time with the Lord in this rich book full of wisdom. And I do that because I have a tendency to folly. I have a tendency to anger, a tendency to selfishness, a tendency to laziness, and on and on. Thus, I have a need for the fool to be intentionally driven from my life. Remember, a proverb a day will keep the fool away. Number 3, be a learner. If you apply your heart to understanding, it says here in Proverbs 2, if you, right, then you. So many of our mistakes could be avoided if we stopped to learn from them. More than that, so many of our mistakes could be avoided if we stopped and learned from others' mistakes. Boy, that will save you some heartache and pain. And number 4, Solomon says to his son, be a locator. If you cry out for insight, if you cry aloud for understanding, notice the desperation in the search. Notice the priority of locating the treasure. And number 5, let me grab this tool again. Be a digger. If you look for it as for silver, if you search for it as for hidden treasure, friends, you and I have to pick up the shovel. We have to pick up the shovel and we have to dig. No one can do the digging for you. No one can move the earth for you. No one can dive to the depths of the sea to locate the missing treasure for you. But you can. But here's what's true. Not everyone will. You see, you will take the journey. You will dig the hole. You'll water the seed that's planted if you believe there is something of great value that's happening under the soil. And that's the beauty and that's the mystery. When we grasp that, we plant the dirt, we take and we put it in here and we open the seeds and we plant it here and then we water this and we believe something is going to take place under the soil. That is the mystery, and that's the faith. The very thing that's happening under the soil is the mystery, and this is where we trust God. At some level, it's all trust. It's all belief. It's all surrender that this is the way, that this is the truth, that this is where there is life. Now, why are we willing to dig, to plant, to water, to nourish? Well, notice the second part. This is the payoff. It's the root that bears fruit. Let's read it again. He says, my son, if you accept my words and store up my commands within you, turning your ear to wisdom and applying your heart to understanding, and if you call out for insight and cry aloud for understanding, and if you look for it as for silver and search for it as for hidden treasure, look at verse 5 here. Then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. If you, then you. You will find the fear of the Lord and the knowledge of God. And that's the payoff. What's the tree that will bring forth the great fruit? It's this. Verse 5, you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. Solomon says this is the key to life right here. I would love to give it to you, but I can't. I need you to trust me, he's saying to his son. Be a follower. I need you to believe me, so pay attention. Be a listener. I need you to know that if you get this one truth, you're on your way to a life and a heart that bears fruit. Be a learner. I want you to do whatever it takes to find this. Be a locator. And when you find it, I want you to uncover it. Be a digger. This is the better way because of who God is and what God does for you. The better way is to know this one who has established his principles by which this life is lived. The better way is to find him, to know him, and follow him. Now, before we leave this and we start to look at the benefits, let me ask you this question. What keeps you from this pursuit? What do you allow to get in your way of the pursuit of wisdom, the better way? Remember, no one can do this for you. Maybe you don't understand all the benefits of wisdom. Maybe you need more than a motivational speech from King Solomon. Maybe you need to understand what return on the investment of time is coming your way. All right, let me spend a moment with you talking about the return on wisdom, because it truly is better than riches of silver and gold that we spend so much of our waking hours pursuing. So just a moment with the benefits. If you've watched the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, you see where Jack Sparrow finally finds the riches of the treasure, the piles of gold, the beautiful jewelry, the mounds of riches. And the message is this. The message is the payoff is worth the price of the hunt. The treasure at the end of the journey is worth the expense of the journey. Notice the ongoing fruit of wisdom that gets established in our lives. Proverbs 2, 6 through 11. For the Lord gives wisdom, and from his mouth come knowledge and understanding. He holds victory in store for the upright. He's a shield to those whose walk is blameless, for he guards the course of the just and protects the way of his faithful ones. Then you will understand what is right and just and fair, every good path, for wisdom will enter your heart and knowledge will be pleasant to your soul. Discretion will protect you and understanding will guard you. What are the benefits of our pursuit of wisdom? We find God, verse 5. We get to know his wisdom, his knowledge and understanding. See, wisdom is knowledge applied. It's an understanding of the way things operate. It's grasping the motivations of the heart. It's insight beyond what the natural eye can see. He leads us to victory. He shields us. He guards our course and protects our way. And before I go any further, who doesn't want these things? Who doesn't want the very presence of God granting us understanding, leading us to victory, shielding us and guarding our way? It's easy to go it alone. That's the way of the fool. Why go it alone when you can go with the God of the universe who created you, who loves you, and who has a plan for your life? Now that's wisdom. You see, the payoff is so big. Look at these benefits as we conclude this section and turn to our groups. Verses 9, 10, and 11. Then you will understand what is right and just and fair, every good path, for wisdom will enter your heart and knowledge will be pleasant to your soul. Discretion will protect you and understanding will guard you. As you turn to your time in your groups, take a few moments to read the rest of Proverbs chapter 2 and write out any further things you see Solomon encouraging his son to take, any further benefits of wisdom that I didn't touch on here. God bless you. We'll see you soon.